George Creel was born on December 1st, 1876 in Missouri. The Creel family wasn't wealthy, but they weren't suffering. Creel's father, Henry, had been given $10,000 by his father, Alexander, to buy a farm in Missouri. Henry didn't have a head for business or farming and went bankrupt. Unable to support his family, he took to drinking, and his wife, Virginia, ended up taking on financial responsibilities. The family moved to Kansas City, where Virginia established a successful boarding house. In 1896, George started at the Kansas City World as a reporter for $4 a week. His ambition and hard work were recognized, and he was soon moved to the society column. Creel was out of place in high society, but he managed to make his way into social gatherings. His editor, impressed with his gumption, assigned him to start digging up dirt on Kansas City elite. Uninterested in being a gossip columnist, George quit and moved to New York. Once in Manhattan, he started working as a joke editor for the Evening World. By the end of 1897, he was earning $25 a week. He soon landed a job at $40 a week at the American, writing for the comic supplement. At the time, the average factory employee was making about $1.50 a week. Creel was writing for the Katzenjammer Kids, Foxy Grandpa, and Buster Brown. He was also getting an up-close look at yellow journalism. He wasn't happy in this environment. In April 1898, he enlisted as a volunteer to serve the Spanish-American War to get away. He wasn't deployed and was feeling stuck again in a job he hated. After Creel's service, a friend, Arthur Grissom, talked him into joining a new venture as a partner in a new weekly journal back in Kansas City, The Independent. Grissom's father-in-law offered him $40,000 to divorce his daughter and leave Kansas City. Grissom took the money, leaving Creel the sole owner of The Independent. Politically, The Independent leaned towards the populist faction of Kansas City Democrats, the Rabbits, with Joe Shannon as leader, and leaned away from Jim Pendergast, leader of the Goats. Under Creel's direction, The Independent became the newspaper of the Rabbits, crusading for reform. Creel had become a muckraker, a political operative, and was the owner and editor-in-chief of The Independent, a thriving newspaper. In 1906, Creel met Charles Ferguson, who nominated Creel to lead the journalistic branch of the National Fellowship in 1908. Creel was asked to establish a weekly newspaper, the Newsbook. The paper only ran from March 7th to June 27th of that year, and according to Creel, was a monumental flop. Creel went back to The Independent to revive and restore it, and by January 1909 it was once again solvent. Unsatisfied with the paper's return to success and needing something different, Creel gave the paper to the two women who had been printing it, Carla Kellogg and Catherine Baxter. After an adventure to Mexico with Fred Bonifils and Harry Tanneman, Creel ended up back in Denver to run their newspaper, the Denver Post. At the Post, Creel continued to develop his Roosevelt-inspired social justice platform, but in the spring of 1911 he left the Post, returning to New York. Working for Cosmopolitan, Creel was sent around the country covering political stories, and on a trip to Denver in the fall, he was offered an editorial position at the Rocky Mountain News. He took the position, but wouldn't be at the News for long. Tapped for political office, he accepted the nomination for Denver's chief of police and won. While he was a controversial police chief, he was also very successful in the job and politically. While Creel was chief, he married the Broadway actress Blanche Bates. In time, Bates became unhappy with Denver's high society scene, and Creel had spent all of his money fighting political battles. They decided it was time to move back to New York in the spring of 1913. Bates was back in the limelight, and Creel was writing political articles for newspapers and magazines throughout New York. He'd been following Woodrow Wilson's political career since 1905 and had worked on Wilson's 1912 presidential campaign while in Denver. In 1916, Creel offered his services to Wilson once again. In April 1917, Creel was appointed chairman of the Committee on Public Information. The CPI would become the largest modern political propaganda machine of the early 20th century. After the CPI was disbanded in 1919, Creel continued to follow his political convictions. He remained a writer and public servant until his retirement in the 1940s. Over the years, he would alternate between great successes and near financial ruin several times. George Creel authored thousands of articles for dozens of newspapers and magazines, and wrote 14 books before his death on October 2nd, 1953.